Hello everyone, my name is NecroVMX, welcome to my channel, and you are listening to POTATOCAST. So, a lot has gone down since the last one, and I'm going to try to keep this one kind of, shorter. Last time was short, it was a 32-minute episode. I do have a lot going on, and I have big updates to give you. Of course, you've seen that videos are going up regularly. I've even started recording stuff, including a new feature that's going to be like a weekly thing. You'll see that when it's ready. But let me go to your questions and comments from last time, which was 2 weeks ago. So let's read that and answer those. Okay, so Nick Jackson says, sorry for posting the martial arts suggestion. I had no idea that type of thing bugged you. I'm not into anime myself. There's a couple of shows I like, but I don't watch them because they are animated shows. They're shows that I'm interested in that happen to be animated. And really, that's the thing. I mean, but you have to admit, Nick, that there are a certain type of people that are just into anime. And I'm into animation. I fucking love cartoons. But I've never been into anime. It's not a style that I'm particularly fond of. And for some reason, people have a hard time with that on the internet, or at least they used to. I used to get a lot of flack for that. And it's not like I came out and said, just that all anime sucks and that it's terrible and that, people who like it are morons. I mean, I said that about wrestling, but that was a joke. Some people took that seriously. But I just said that I didn't like it, but people felt that I had to. So, who's your favorite YouTuber if you have one? Can't count yourself. Well, I wouldn't pick myself. And are there any Mel Brooks films that you absolutely hate? I don't think I've ever seen a Mel Brooks film that I hated. That's for sure. I don't know that I've even seen all of his films, to be honest with you, so maybe I've not seen them all or whatever, but I definitely enjoy his work. Just out of the ones that I've seen, I'm trying to think like least favorite. To be honest, and I know this is, heresy in some circles, but I would say Spaceballs, which is not saying that it's a bad film. It's highly enjoyable. It's very funny. It's just not as good as the other ones, in my opinion. But I also haven't seen all of them. As for favorite YouTuber, I don't know if I have really a favorite. There are a lot of YouTubers that I really enjoy. And it might surprise you to know that I don't really watch a lot of Let's Plays. For gameplay type videos, I do watch Pimp Night. I watch Original 151. I watch Dobbs. I watch Newfie Banga when he's playing a game that I like. I watch Armageddon Time, of course. It's a friend of mine, so I'm pretty much required to watch his stuff. Let's see, who else do I watch for gameplays? Oh, and Dashi. I'm a big fan of Dashi. Dashi's probably my favorite Let's Player, just because of all the yelling and screaming. I'm easy to please in that sense. I like a lot of reaction type channels, like Tyrone Magnus and Dwayne and Jazz and Blasphemous HD. I love GameSack. GameSack is actually probably my favorite channel. It's not, like Let's Plays, but it is video game stuff, which those two guys are amazing. Definitely suggest you check out GameSack. I watch Good Mythical Morning. Actually, let me look at my subscription feed right now, because it's hard to pick favorites. It really is. Oh, Maximilian Dude is another Let's Player that I really enjoy. Oodsie. I don't watch him as much anymore, but he's good. Let's see what else we have in here. Old Def Digital, that's a good comedy channel. And I do watch BuzzFeed and stuff like that. So, really that gives you... I would, if I had to pick a favorite, out of all those that I mentioned, somebody that I get excited about every video, it would definitely be GameSack. Let's see. Let's move on to the next comment here. The Game Master 8 says, hey, Necro, glad to hear your dad's doing awesome. Well, you're going to get an update on that, because things have changed on that one. Sucks to hear Hitomi still isn't in the clear. Fingers crossed she makes rent and starts getting paid soon. As for you, I take it the job search isn't going too well. I'm sure something will come your way soon. Keep at it, man. I do have a couple of questions this time around. Well, before I get to your questions, let me just address some of the things you said. Hitomi, she's been hanging on by a thread for quite a while now, and still is. And the problem is that we always get just enough funds, just enough help to prevent disaster. but never enough to keep her stabilized. Now I'm not fully up on it because I've been so absorbed in my own issues and my family issues and everything that's been going on with me. I know I don't have like the full update, but I do know that there was some sort of job that she was looking into that would pay a lot more. I don't know if it's going to be a thing, but she's still well behind on everything. And there are certain people that were helping out that kind of, couldn't help out anymore or fell out of contact. There's one guy that I'm actually very worried about that I haven't heard from in a while, and she hasn't either. And I'm actually starting to worry that something might happen to him. So, there's that. The dad situation, that's what this whole episode's about. I'm going to give you an update on that. The job search, yeah, it's not going amazing, but it's also, it's not like the A1 priority. It is a priority, but it's not like the A1 priority. The A1 priority right now is helping my family. That's the big thing that I got to do. So let's see. Have you ever thought about doing some Let's Plays of the Metroid games other than like the couple of videos you did for other? Absolutely, I do plan on doing the Metroid games. I actually probably should have done that already. I probably should have gotten on Metroid already. I always think, I'll do Metroid eventually, and then I don't do it. So, but yes, I do plan on doing the Metroid games. Definitely, at the very least, the first four, Metroid, Metroid 2, Super Metroid, and Metroid Fusion are definite Let's Plays that will happen. And also, I plan to look into Zero Mission and another Metroid 2 remake, which is an unofficial game, but I do have it. I haven't played it, but I have it. The 3D games, that's a little bit more complicated. It may happen though. Let's see. Number 2, if you can find a stable way to play them, are you going to try any more LPs of N64 games? Much luck and hope to you and Hitomi. Take care, Necro. I did Paper Mario. That was my first Let's Play of an entire N64 game, and there are other N64 games that I would absolutely love to Let's Play. For example, Perfect Dark. I would love to Let's Play that. Another game that I would love to do from the N64 is Banjo-Kazooie. The only problem is the N64's controller was the work of a madman, and trying to adapt that to an Xbox One controller, which is what I use, is ridiculous because there's not enough buttons. So the only option is to map the C buttons to the right analog stick, which can be kind of a pain in the ass when you're playing certain games. So it's not so much the stability, because N64 emulation is actually really good now. The problem is the controls, because the N64 controller is not like anything else there is. There's no way that I could probably finagle a way to play Perfect Dark. Banjo-Kazooie might be a little more difficult, but I think it could be doable. It is something that I want to do at some point. So yeah, it's not that I don't want to do N64. It's just that it is kind of a pain in the ass with that controller. Let's see, Jazzmaster909 says, "Hey Necro, just want to wish your father a healthy recovery. As someone who have relatives, that I think he has, but whatever, that beat cancer, I can imagine happiness and relief that you feel right now." Well, we'll get to that in a bit. "Keep up the great content. Though I do not comment or interact as much on the channel, I'm still a regular viewer. Also, damn, the POTATOCAST title card I made is still being used now. Yeah, I'm too lazy to change it, and I do like it. It's cool. So yeah." BioPhoenix says, "I just got nostalgia when you mentioned that anime rant. As someone who enjoys anime, that old video was great. That one dude who went borderline crazy that you mentioned that video reminds me of that James Bond Thunderball fanboy." Oh, you're talking about Ramat Peck. Yeah, that guy was... I actually tell you, he not only turned out to be a nutcase, but he was like some sort of like deviant pedophile. And I'm not just saying that to be mean. The guy... First of all, the guy was in his 50s. And... believe it or not, I had blocked him, and for a while I kind of kept an eye on his channel just because he was ranting, and it was just so amusing. It was really entertaining to watch him rant about me, and he would go on like random forums on the internet that had nothing to do with anything. Like, it didn't have anything to do with gaming. It didn't have anything to do with James Bond. It would be like a motorcycle enthusiast forum, and he'd start ranting about me, and people would be like, "What the fuck? Who are you? And who is this guy you're ranting about? Who cares?" And then he would flip out on them. So it was very entertaining because I would get contacted by people, and then one day it all kind of quieted down, and And I figured, oh, well, that's over. And then one day I got an email from, this person who was, it was, okay. So I two people emailed me. There was a guy who emailed me first, and then this woman emailed me later. And basically, the guy emailed me first. The woman wanted to contact me. I don't know if I've ever told the story. The woman wanted to contact me, but she wasn't like really sure what kind of person I was and how I was going to react to what she had to say. So she had her friend contacted me instead. So he contacted me first about Ramat Peck. And he wanted to know, because he had seen my name associated with Ramat Peck so much out there, and it seemed to be in sort of a negative light that me and Ramat Peck don't like each other, obviously. He wanted to know if I knew who Ramat Peck was, the Thunderball troll, because I'd done a couple of videos about him, and my name shows up on Google searches for Ramat Peck. And he wanted to know if I knew who the guy really was. And the reason that I found out, and I told him, no, I don't really know who he is. He's a nutcase, but and he's a weirdo, but, And then the woman contacted me, and she said basically that Ramat Peck had been stalking her teenage daughter, she was about 17 years old, and she was blind. And she did some videos of her playing the piano. She was a pianist, and her mother would record videos of like her, recitals or concerts or whatever, and then she would put them on a channel. The mother ran the channel, and I saw the videos, and the girl, she's very young, she's like 17, and she was blind, and it started with Ramat Peck just leaving her really nice, supportive comments about how talented she was musically, and then it got a little creepy. It started to become, you're very beautiful, and this and that, and keep in mind, she's 17, he's like in his 50s, and he started to get kind of aggressive and sexually aggressive, that he started saying very sexual things about this girl. And the other thing was that he started to get aggressive because she wasn't answering him, because she's blind, she doesn't read much. Her mother was the person running the channel, and he started getting really angry that he wasn't getting the response from this teenage girl that he was hoping for, which is a good thing. And he started making threats. And, he made threats towards me, which I never took seriously. But when, if I had a child and somebody was threatening the child, I would be forced to take that seriously, even if I didn't think that it was a credible threat. Somebody threatens your children, whether it's physically or emotionally or sexually, you have to take that seriously. It's a moral imperative. So, of course, you had to look into it. And I said, I'll tell you exactly what I told her. I said, look, I really don't know who he is. I know he's a weirdo. I know he lives in California. I know he doesn't seem all that stable. I don't know where you guys live, but I'm pretty sure he's in California just based on something he said once. So, I would say just try to block him and don't worry about him. But if you think that, there's a credible threat, you should contact the authorities, and we went back and forth a few times, and then I never heard from them again, which is probably a good thing. But, I don't think I've ever told that story on the channel, but there you go. That's, you reminded me of Ramat Peck. So let me go back to your comment here. As for Ys, Memories of Salsetta is a good choice. I've played Ys 8, and it has my favorite story in the series personally, but I do agree that I think all the Ys games are really great. By the way, good to hear about the good news. This sucks because I have bad news, and now everybody's talking about, oh, I'm so glad to hear the good news, and I'm going to give you bad news. It's not like the worst news ever, but I do have to tell you guys. So let me go on to the next one. The anime fans. A numbered list. I like these. Hashtag potato. I just want your opinion on these topic. Dead grammar though. Number one. How people/DCEU fans are more crazy about their hate/racism on the MCU, like what they do to Rotten Tomatoes website when it came to Black Panther recently. Here's the thing. I don't think that the people who, and I saw that, I don't think that the people who planned on, attacking Black Panther on Rotten Tomatoes have anything to do with, DCEU fans. I think that they're just racists. And they use that as an excuse, sort of a dog whistle, to say, oh, we're not racist, we're just hardcore, Superman fans. I don't believe it for a second. I'll tell you, I'm a fan of DC. I also love the Marvel movies. And I haven't gotten to see Black Panther, unfortunately. But it's sort of the same thing with Star Wars. Like they claim to be just Star Wars purists that were giving bad reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and to me, I don't think they were. I think they were misogynists who were just upset about the strong female leads and the message that the movie had to say. Not about necessarily female leadership, but the qualities of leadership in general, and that they had, a woman in a leadership role teaching a man a lesson. They didn't like that. So, number 2, do you think there will be a time when we get some sort of history of gaming controversy media, whether it's a book/documentary on, hey, look, anime fans, can you do me a favor? Can you slow down when you type messages to me? They're very hard to read because I don't know where you're from, but I'm kind of getting the idea that English is not your first language. I'm actually going to look at your channel right now and see, because it doesn't say where you're from on your YouTube. So I'll go with Twitter. Your Twitter's down. Okay, so I don't know, man. Just try and be more coherent. So you're asking to see if somebody's going to do a history of gaming controversy. Actually, and there's a YouTuber that I can recommend that I forgot to mention in my list of YouTubers that I really like. Larry Bundy Jr. has done numerous videos on that, and he does update them from time to time. So I would recommend looking up Larry Bundy Jr. and his YouTube show, which is called Fact Hunt, which is really good. Number 3, do believe, like most people, when the Fox Marvel stuff go back to Marvel and get integrated into the DCU, the day it happens, they will cast Storm for Black Panthers too. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm kind of curious to see if we'll keep some of the same actors from the X-Men films, for example, in the MCU if they ever become integrated. They may not become fully integrated just due to, how weird that can be. But I would hope that for example, if we saw Magneto, I would hope that we would still have Michael Fassbender because I think he's spectacular as Magneto. And I hope if we had Professor X that we would still have James McAvoy. And if we had Mystique, hopefully we would still have Jennifer Lawrence. The rest of them, I'm not super attached. Well, I like the guy who plays Quicksilver. I just don't know his name. But if we can keep those 3, I think it would be great. Storm in Black Panther 2, I think would be a really interesting choice since she is from Africa. She's from Kenya, not Wakanda, but she did marry T'Challa at one point. They did have a marriage for quite some time. They were the lead characters in the Fantastic Four for a while, which was really interesting. But then the marriage got annulled for some stupid reason or another. I don't know if they would necessarily do that, but it sounds cool. Let's see. Heisensol says, #potato. I'm glad to hear your I'm glad to hear your father is still doing well aside from the blood clot. The blood clot turned out to be nothing. It was heartwarming to hear about how you and your pit pups have become attached to you. Oh, they won't leave me alone. Right before this past Christmas, we got a new dog after having to put our previous one down earlier this year. I just want to say first, sorry to hear that. I'm glad you got a new dog. I was wondering this. What are your biggest pet peeves about modern gaming? My biggest 2 would have to be people being assholes for the sake of being assholes in online gaming. Well, yeah, that's not a gaming problem. That's a people problem. And games getting released that have game-breaking bugs in them and the developer is just fuck it, we'll just release a patch. I just want to pause there and say that that bugs me, but at the same time, it's not the way it used to be, because back in the day, there was an enormous amount of pressure to not have any major bugs in a release because you released on physical media and there wasn't really a way to patch games. Now that developers and publishers have these tools, they have the ability to update their games and fix the problems with them. No game ever gets shipped without bugs. Now, obviously, game-breaking bugs, you wonder how the hell could that have slipped through? But it does happen, and I can tell you as someone who's worked as a video game developer for the past 7 or so years, you could have everybody on your team play through a build and experience no problems and put it online, ready for consumption, and then immediately you get 50 comments about how there's this huge game-breaking bug and how could you not see this? So I understand that it's a pet peeve, but it's also something that just happens. And it could be fixed. The fact that it could be fixed, it's not necessary. Some developers are just fuck it, we'll just release a patch. But some developers are genuinely either unaware of those glitches, believe it or not, or they just are faced with deadlines that they have to meet and can't get to it in time. So the game goes gold and they just have like a 0-day patch, which is really not the worst thing ever. I understand why it annoys you. One other quick question. Actually, let me answer your first question. So my gaming pet peeve, honestly, it's pay to win. Pay to win bothers me. I don't mind microtransactions. I don't mind DLC, but I mind it when you're playing some sort of game with any kind of online component where if you want to play competitively, you absolutely have to buy these things. Like, Valve is a company that kind of has it right. Like with Team Fortress 2, people can buy the hats. The hats do nothing, but people buy the hats, It's a cosmetic thing. It doesn't bother anybody. Call of Duty is a series that I very much enjoy for its storytelling and graphics and whatnot. And I love the single-player campaigns, but the online component is a mess because of things like loot crates and buying better guns and shit like that. And I think that it actually goes into online MMOs and RPGs a lot more. Card games and things like that. It's insane. That's my personal one. One other quick question: are you a total hardliner when it comes to pineapple on pizza? I normally don't like it on pizza, but I do enjoy a Hawaiian every once in a while. Take care as always. Okay, here's the thing. I am a hardliner of pineapple on pizza. I think pineapple doesn't belong on pizza. And the reason is because I don't like pineapple. So, if I don't like pineapple, why would I want it on my pizza? That sort of thing. And I also, I honestly don't see those flavors working together. I've had people saying, oh, you should try it and whatnot. You might like it. But I don't like pineapple. So I kind of am. I really like pineapple is just... There are certain fruits I don't like cherries or no. I was just talking with Andrew, and I just happened to mention we were watching The Simpsons, and they were doing that episode where, these two characters, I think it was Sideshow Mel and the sea captain, were arguing over what is the superior type of cherry. And I was like, I say that, because Mel was like, and I say maraschino cherries or something like that. And I go, no, and I say cherries are gross. And Andrew was like, I hate cherries too. The reason I hate cherries, they're just way, way too sweet. Just ridiculously so sweet. And it's not that I don't like sweet food. I like a lot of fruits that are sweet. I like oranges, for example. Oranges are very sweet. I like apples. Apples are very sweet. But they're a little more balanced, Pineapples just taste like sugar to me, and I don't dig it. And, cherries, same thing. They're just way, way too sweet. So... yeah, I kind of am a hardliner on that. All right, and last comment here is from StormPro95. It says, #potato. Joining the side of the audience, it's glad to hear about your dad's recovery. And keeping it shorter this time, since I get ranty. You can get ranty all you want, man. It don't bother me. Number one, favorite black metal bands, if any. Ooh, that is a decent question. My favorite black metal band of all time is, you might not have heard of them because they were called Windir, Windir, and from Norway. It was actually just one guy. His name was Volfar. That was his stage name. And he was this 23-year-old kid who just had this immense, amazing talent. He released 2 demo tapes, and I mean literally, they were tapes. They were released on cassette and passed those around and whatnot. And then he had a couple of records, and he even put together a touring band, and kind of like how 9 Inch Nails, like on the record, it's just Trent Reznor doing everything, but then he had a touring band, and then he actually eventually put together a band and did full bands. But this guy wrote all the music, he did all the instruments himself, he did the vocals, and it was just, and then he died. He died really young. I think he was about 26 years old when he died. Of hypothermia. He was hiking in northern Norway to somebody's house, and he got caught in a snowstorm, and that was the end of him. That's a quick way to die. You don't survive that. But his band was fantastic. Just look up. I want you to look up the song. It's Windir, Windir, and the song called "Journey to the End." And it's like Castlevania black metal. It's really good. So they're my favorite. I also like a lot of black metal. I stay away from like the Nazi stuff for obvious reasons, but like I like Satir Icon. I like sort of the stuff that leans more towards like folk black metal, like Ogalok is a really good band, Korpiklani, Fintroll, then you're getting really into the folk metal side of it, although I do like straight up black metal too. Number 2, if you could speak or understand 4 languages, then which ones and why? So obviously 4 languages other than English, I think is what you're saying. I would try to get a variety. I would go with Japanese, because I would love to play a lot of games that didn't come out here. That's like a big thing. Japanese is a big thing. I think I would pick Spanish. I don't know nearly enough Spanish, even though I am Hispanic, so that's sort of a big one. For the third one, I would pick. That's tough. Maybe Russian. I don't know. I just think it's an interesting language. I think I would just pick Russian just to say that I could speak Russian. It'd be an interesting. That's really the only reason. And then for the fourth one, I want to kind of pick something really out there for the fourth one. Like, I think it would be cool, like just on a academic level, to be able to speak a dead language like Latin. So there you go. Let's see, number 3. And lastly, I'd honestly like to know if Cooking with VMX will have more videos for that planned. I dug watching those. I would like to know if that returned at all post-moving. It became my favorite cooking series on here, honestly. I would love to do it. The problem is, firstly, they were costly because you had to buy a whole bunch of food and everything. And secondly, my sister, since the last video, she's gotten divorced. And, it's just she has so much on her plate since then. That doesn't mean that it won't happen. There's a very good possibility that we'll do cooking videos again. Whether it's me or me and my sister. I would love it to be me and my sister. But also, just like kind of everything that has happened to me has made it difficult for me to have the motivation to do that. I have the desire, not necessarily the motivation. So it's sort of like spirit is willing, flesh is weak sort of situation. But I still cook, and I would like to do it. I would like to do it again, but I have things I got to concentrate on right now. So now that that's over, and I've been ominous for a while, so I'll just come right inside it. It turns out my dad still has cancer. We celebrated too soon. He did get the tumor removed, and last week he went back for an not an MRI. He went for the MRI today, CAT scan. And it was supposed to be like the first of many regular CAT scans to kind of keep an eye on him. And the doctors were just horrified at the results, from what I was understand. Not only did they find more cancer cells, but they found more cancer cells in several different places, not just his liver. They did find additional cancer in the liver, lymph nodes, the bones, and in a blood vessel. I don't know which blood vessel. So that, of course, just kind of took the wind out of all our sails. And, now they're having to go back for more intensive treatment. He is going to have to do chemotherapy, although I understand it is going to be in a pill form, rather than, having it injected like they used to do. So that you can have it in pill form. And he had a bone scan the other day. He had the MRI today, and then on Monday, which is the day after tomorrow, he's going back to visit with the surgeon again, and just sort of come up with a plan. I'm a little worried. I'm not like super worried, because he's literally at the best cancer place there is. I mean, there's like I think there's 3 in the world that are like the top. Sloan Kettering is one of them. There's another place in Texas, and I think the third one's like in Europe somewhere. So So that's sort of what's been going on with me. That's the big cancer update. That's the big thing. And that's what we've been concentrating on. So it's been very taxing, obviously, on my parents and myself, but especially on them, because they're traveling into New York City frequently now. It's an hour and a half in, an hour and a half out. It's a strain on everything. It's a strain on sleep. It's a strain on funds. It's everything. So this has just been, and then I'm here a lot watching the dogs and taking care of things here. So, the story isn't over, so to speak. We thought cancer-free, and that he was just going to have to be monitored for a while, and then it turns out, not so much. Now, you might ask, how did this happen? How did they miss it the first time? And it actually turns out, I think at least, to be a good thing that they missed all this the first time, or that it maybe even wasn't there, because if they had found cancer in more than one place, like if it wasn't just in his liver, with the initial findings, he would not have been a candidate for surgery. And he would still have that huge tumor in him, and he would be experiencing, much worse symptoms because his symptoms were pretty severe before having the surgery. So that was a good thing. The sort of negative aspect of it, of course, is still having cancer now. But the doctors believe that because he had the surgery is why this happened. And he said it's not a common thing. But, and forgive me if I'm butchering this because I'm kind of hearing it third hand here. But apparently, sometimes when you remove such a large tumor, you sort of awaken the sleeper cells, that there may have been cancer cells elsewhere that were dormant, that were, either not malignant or whatever, and they hadn't, awoken, so to speak. And now, a traumatic event such as surgery can actually cause them to become active. So, he's going to, so he's already had some sort of radiation therapy. I know that because they mentioned that he actually has a letter that he could show. This is actually pretty fun. He has a letter that he can show Homeland Security if he ever to travel or whatever. And they detected the radiation because he had some sort of uranium treatment. So that's really nuts. But, it's just, it sucks. But that's where we're at right now. And, I'm trying to keep positive and keep things moving forward. Still going to be doing the channel, still going to be, updating you guys and everything. So nothing's changing on that. But like I said, we were, and that's sort of why I was so hesitant 2 weeks ago when I did POTATOCAST. I didn't just say, hey, he doesn't have cancer anymore. It's amazing. I did sort of say that to him after the surgery, when I went to visit him in the hospital. I was just like, hey, you don't have cancer. But it turns out he did, But I was just like, that's why I said it in the way I did. We believe that he's cancer-free at this moment. And I kind of, I hate to say it, but I kind of saw this coming because, you don't catch your chickens till they're hatched kind of thing. And I kind of felt like it's never as easy as that. It's never as easy as that. And, the blood clot thing was a big red herring. And the reason that we had to get that checked out was because he wouldn't have been, if that was cancer in his lungs, he wouldn't have been able to have the surgery. So it's a good thing that it was missed, but it is caught now. And, like I said, he's at he's going to the best place there is for cancer, one of the 3 best places. So, we're just sort of, hoping that everything, turns out all right. And, from what I understand, they're still planning on going on their vacation in May, which I hope, they're going to St. Lucia at some point in May. So that's, that's a big thing. And they've been looking forward, especially my dad, both of them, but especially my dad. But it's a little rough. For example, tomorrow is my mom's birthday, and it's wedged between 2 trips to Sloan. The trip today, which was, the MRI, and the trip tomorrow, which is to see the doctors. And thankfully today they were in and out. They left at 9 and they came back at 3, which I was like, I can't believe you're back so soon. Because when they went for the bone scan, they left at 9. They didn't get back till 7:30 at night. And I was actually like, where the hell are they? I thought they stopped for dinner. That's what I was assuming. And then my sister called me like, have you, are mom and dad back? And I'm like, no. You haven't heard from them? I'm like, no. And there's actually an interesting story behind the day when they did go in for the CAT scan and they found out about all this. I was sitting here and I got a text from my sister's boyfriend, John. He's John as well. He's Jonathan. I'm John. But I got a text from him. He was like, what you doing? Are you busy? And I was like, I was a little busy, but I try to make time for people, And I said, yeah, what's up? What do you need? And he says, I need your advice. I'm coming over. They live very close by. So he comes over. And he looks a little distraught. And it turns out that my mother was planning on coming home and then kind of telling everybody, in her own way, about the news that we had gotten. And she called my grandmother, or my grandmother called her at some point. And my grandmother has this habit of, she can hear it in your voice and she can get it out of you. Years ago, not too many years ago, but it was about 5. Oh no, it was about 4 or 5 years ago. I think 4.5 years ago. my dad had terrible pneumonia and he had to have surgery on his lungs and all this, that. And I think I mentioned that because of, the blood clot. We initially thought that was scar tissue. And, they went there to the hospital to take him to the hospital. And my mother was just like, don't tell your grandma. Don't tell her. I'm like, okay, but I am the world's shittiest liar. I can't lie for shit. So, at one point my grandmother calls me and she heard it in my voice and she got it out of me. And I said to her, I thought my mother's going to be angry with me because she does, don't tell grandma, and then grandma gets it out of me. Well, let me tell you, I told her, I said, look, grandma knows, and she called and she got it out of me. She heard it in my voice and she got it out of me. And my mother's just like, yeah, she's good at that. She wasn't mad at me. She kind of figured that might happen. She just didn't want me to blurt it out, So that's what happened, and then my sister's boyfriend was right there and he heard it all. So he's just like, wait, what? And then he assumed that because my mother called my grandmother, he didn't know that my grandmother got it out of her. He thought that she called to give her the news. So she assumed that my mother would have called me to give me the news. So then he's actually asking me for advice on how to tell my sisters. My sister was at work this whole time, and they were like, we don't want to tell Kristen because she's at work, and we don't want her upset at work, and this and that. So then, so I said, like, well, you don't have to tell Kristen. My mom will tell Kristen. He's like, well, here's the thing. She said something along the lines, if he tells her, then that'd be doing me a big favor. So I kind of, feel obligated to tell her, but how do I tell her? And I'm just like, you just wait for her to come home and you tell her. And, I don't know. I wouldn't do it. I would wait till everybody's together. And then my mother was just like, when she called me, I was like, I already know. And she's like, how did you find out from Graham? I said, no, from John. And it was a whole thing. And then she was upset because she didn't want him to tell anybody. And then I'm like, but you did. And she's like, well, I don't remember saying that. And I'm like, look, maybe grandma had a little something to do with that. Maybe she said that you said that, which is kind of what we think happened. So it's just kind of like a little slice of life thing there with, kind of the drama that goes on with these things. And I said to my mother, don't be upset with him. He probably misinterpreted, and grandma probably thought that she was doing you a favor. So that's what happened there. And, yeah, but like I said, I think I'm done. I want to keep this short. I think I'm done. I'm done talking about this. And leave me some questions and comments. Leave me some positivity, please. I need it right now, and my family needs it right now. So give me some positivity because you know what? When you guys comment on this stuff, I do pass it along to them. But I'm gonna try and do these weekly if I can. Blah blah blah. This, that, the other. I'll hopefully give you an update next week, and hopefully it'll be a positive one. If not, probably in 2 weeks. I guess I'll just give you Let's Play news and then cap it off because we're at 38 minutes. So, the East Let's Play is going to be ending this week. There's only 4 more videos left. And then after that is going to be Paper Mario: The 1,000-Year Door. And I know there's been people who've looked forward to that. Hollow Knight, that's going to be going. This is 59 episodes. It's a long, long game. I hope you guys... I haven't really got any comments on it. I really want you guys to watch the Hollow Knight Let's Play. It was my favorite game of the year, and I think it's a really great Let's Play, and I really think you should watch it. But after that is Cuphead, but that's going to be for a while because Hollow Knight's long. And we have some new features coming out. So I'm gonna see you guys. I'm gonna stop here. I gotta do something else. I'll see you guys. VMX out.